In the new poster for the Mario movie, Mario isn't really looking like he used to. I'm not sure if the long hours on set are taking a toll on his physical health, but I'm not gonna stand for it. Over the years, Mario has kept his iconic look through the copious amounts of mushrooms that he's eaten, and he's looking a bit malnourished. So today we're gonna see how fast we can eat a mushroom in every single Mario game so that we can get him back to normal before the movie comes out. Starting off with Super Mario Bros. For the NES, all we have to do is sniff out that mushroom in the second mystery block, and Mario begins his feast. Next is Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, which is very similar to the first, except there's a devious mushroom where we'd expect a normal one to be, which we definitely aren't going to count as we only want the good stuff. So instead we have to hit the secret block under this Koopa and jump into the box. Super Mario Bros. 2 is the first one where we have to do a little bit of work. The quickest mushroom for us to get is in the Shadow Realm, but it's pretty easy. All we have to do is grab this vial to open up the door, enter the Shadow Realm, and enjoy our mushroom. On to Super Mario Bros. 3, which easily enough is waiting for us right at the beginning, just in one of these blocks. And now that Mario has his appetite back, we can quickly eat the mushrooms in Super Mario Land, Super Mario World, and Super Mario Land 2 before we have to do a bit of work. As iconic as the mushroom may be, some Mario games do not feature the forbidden fruit, so after searching around in Super Mario Land 2, Super Mario 64, and even Super Mario Sunshine, we make our way to the questionable remake, Super Mario 64, the DS version. In this game, at least initially, we play as Yoshi, so while Mario won't be able to partake in this mushroom, we can still have one in his honor. But first, we have to unlock the front door to the castle, head inside, and make our way to Bob-omb Battlefield. But sadly, our mushroom isn't ready yet. We first have to defeat King Bob-omb, race Koopa to the top of the mountain, and collect a handful of silver stars before unlocking the 4th star of the battlefield. And once returning to Bob-omb Battlefield, we now have some blocks that we can destroy. And after eating and shooting a Bob-omb into this block, we find our mushroom. After Yoshi's little side quest, we can make our way to New Super Mario Bros. For the DS, and since half of these Mario games are exactly the same, we can expect to find ourselves a delicacy right at the beginning. But now we're on to something different. New Super Mario Bros. Wii introduces the Penguin Shroom and the Helicopter Shroom, which, as we are mushroom sommeliers, we only accept the original and most pure of the mushrooms. And since thousands of these new mushrooms were spread across the land, surely the first block we see won't have exactly what we want. Next up is Super Mario 3D Land for the 3DS, and at the very beginning we hit this block, which should give us a mushroom, but as the game was so generous, fed us a mushroom before the game started, and by hitting the first block before getting hit, we actually get the Tanuki flower. But no big deal, we can just make our way into World 1-2 and grab the next block that gives us our mushroom. On to New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS, which despite its name is actually the 3rd installment in the New Super Mario Bros. Series, and even though the name New Super Mario Bros. 3DS would make use of the 3 in the iteration of the game, as well as since it was on the 3DS, decided to just make these games even more confusing. But either way, we aren't here for semantics, we're just here for mushrooms. Next up is New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, and at this point, I'm just impressed at the amount of words they can fit into this title, and once again, despite the name of the game, since it's the deluxe version of the game, it isn't actually on the Wii U, but it's on the Switch, and the U in the title is just for a bit of pizzazz. But regardless, we make our way through the cutscene of all the new impure mushrooms, begin on World 1-1, and grab our mushroom so that we can get out of the New Super Mario Bros. 2 U DS Deluxe Wii world that we have found ourselves in. And I know there are a couple of titles that we have skipped, but sadly, the 3D Mario games aren't too kind to Mario. Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, as well as Mario Odyssey, they don't have any mushrooms available to be eaten, so we'll just have to make up for it in Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury by eating 2. In Super Mario 3D World, similar to 3D Land, we start off already fed a bit, so in order to fix our mistakes from last time, we get hit by this Goomba before hitting the block so we can guarantee that it will be a mushroom. And lastly, of the Super Mario series, Bowser's Fury is going to wrap up our first course. All we have to do is grab the first shrine, enter Scamper Shores, and find the mushroom right between these two weird-looking birds. But we aren't done yet. That was just the appetizer. Now it's on to the Mario Kart series, which technically has the Dash mushroom mushroom, but it's more of a slang term than a botanical difference, and Mario, being the expert he is, knows they're basically the same thing. Starting off in Super Mario Kart, we have a bit of a strategy. Super Mario Kart is the most complicated of the kart series in determining the probabilities of the item boxes. They are different on each lap, as well as position, as well as track. But with the earliest item box spawn and a 6.3% chance of a mushroom, we get this one on the first try. Next is Mario Kart 64, which is much less complicated and introduces the triple mushroom, which is just more of what we're looking for. Also, the item chances are the same on every map and lap. The only thing that matters is your position in the race. So our goal is to be in 5th or 6th place whenever we grab a box, and then we'll have a 25% chance of getting the triple mushroom. Also, starting off with Mario 64, we can just do time trial runs and start off with 3 mushrooms at the beginning, but as we aren't really looking for any handouts, the rest of the mushrooms will only be in Grand Prix races. But after a couple of boxes on Luigi's circuit, we get our triple mushroom, but also make sure to save room. On to Mario's Super Circuit for the Game Boy Advance. And of all the Mario Kart games, this is the only one I couldn't actually find percentages of the item box drops, so we're just going to go for last place and hope for the best. Mario Kart Double Dash is my favorite of the series, and it's the only game where different characters can have different items, which I think is awesome, as it really incentivizes playing different characters as they provide a ton of different options other than just their weight. But sadly, Toad and Toadette, which can give us more chances at mushrooms, aren't playable from the start. So instead of having to rely on item boxes, we can start off on Mushroom Bridge, hit the mushroom car, knock a mushroom onto the ground, and eat it just a bit dirty. Next is Mario Kart DS, which has some leniency as the best position to eat a mushroom is anywhere from 4th place to 7th place, but has a chance in any position but 1st place, so as long as we make sure to stay at the back of the pack, after a couple of boxes we can eat a mushroom. Mario Kart Wii tries to spoil us with the addition of the Mega Mushroom as well as the Golden Mushroom, which we aren't ones to shy away from, but after partaking in a little golden mushroom of our own, get what we came for immediately afterwards. The last 2 of the Mario Kart series are pretty straightforward. In Mario Kart 7, we stay towards the back of the pack and get ourselves a triple, and then in Mario Kart 8, the item chances are calculated a bit differently, and instead of your position affecting the odds, it's the distance you are away from 1st place. But as that sounds a bit too complicated, we can just assume to stay a pretty decent amount behind the person in 1st and get ourselves the last mushroom from Mario Kart. Next up is Mario Party, and sadly, similar to some of the Super Mario games, not every Mario Party game has mushrooms for us to enjoy. Even in the very first one, there are no mushrooms ripe for the picking. But luckily, the mushroom made its debut appearance not shortly after in Mario Party 2. And in all of the Mario Party games, there's a bit of luck in grabbing our shrooms, but by doing a little bit of research, the right boards can help us out. Going into Western Land in Mario Party 2, we have access to an item shop extremely early on. Horrorland actually has an item shop closer, but we're forced to invest in the Koopa Bank and will not have the 10 gold we need to buy the mushroom. But in Western Land, we make our way to the item shop and purchase our mushroom, but sadly aren't allowed to eat it the turn we buy it. We have to wait an entire turn, play the mini game, and watch everyone else go, all while being extremely peckish before we can dig into our prize. Next up is Mario Party 3, which once playing on Spiny Desert has an item shop right at the beginning. And all we have to do is roll a 7 and we can get it on the first turn. After buying the mushroom, similar to before, we have to exhibit extreme patience, play our mini game, and then we can enjoy our snack the turn after. Sadly, Mario Party 4 doesn't have any mushrooms for us to enjoy, but instead only offers the Mega Mushroom, which, if we have the option, isn't really something worth wasting our precious daily calories over, but returning in Mario Party 5, there are more mushrooms for us to eat. The only issue is that in Mario Party 5, there are no item shops, but instead every item is dispensed as a capsule, so whether or not we have dinner is reliant on one thing. Whatever this is. Basically, our best strategy is to navigate past as many of these machines as we can and just cross our fingers that eventually we get a mushroom capsule. While on our quest for the lucky capsule, we might as well win a couple of mini games and stars just to show everyone who they're dealing with. But luckily, after a few turns, we get a mushroom capsule from the machine, wait our time for the mushroom to ripen, and eat it the turn after. Mario Party 6 and 7 are similar to the previous, but luckily instead of the gumball machine roulette, all of the orbs are now back to being sold in shops, so we just have to pick the best map, buy the orb hopefully on the first or second turn, and dig in when it's ready. And at this point, the mushroom lost its charm in the Mario Party space, and sadly was replaced by the golden and silver dice, except for the outcasts. First off, in Mario Party Advanced, a game I barely remember playing, the game starts off with us having to fill out a passport where we have to give our name, birth month, favorite hobby, as well as a comment about ourselves, which quite frankly is a little too much information than I would care to share with Nintendo. But anyways, the mushroom works a bit differently in Mario Party Advanced. It's used in order to move spaces and definitely isn't being used by the car and is definitely being eaten by us. But once starting the first game, we can eat our mushroom. The other outcast Mario Party game is Mario Party Island Tour for the 3DS, and it's probably the worst Mario Party game I've ever played. And I just talked about Mario Party Advanced. In Mario Party Island Tour, stars are no longer a part of the game, which is the whole point of Mario Party. In every single game, whoever has the most stars wins, but now it isn't even in the game. That's like if Nintendo releases Mario Odyssey 2 in a few years and just forgets to include moons. Safe to say, I hate this game. If Mario Party wasn't luck-based enough, the entire way to win this game is to get to the end of the map the quickest, but the only way you move is based on a dice roll, so it's even more luck-based. On top of that, there are multiple sections of the map that are coin tosses. You can see if you skip ahead or you get sent back. And then there are spaces that also will send you forward or send you back. So even if you roll a 6 on your die or you win the minigame and get to roll 2 dice, you can still land on a spot that sends you back and you just leave everything up to chance. Also, one of the biggest draws of Mario Party is being able to play with friends, and since this is a handheld game, you can't really play on the same console. So now that that's out of my system, our goal is just to land on an item space, which will hopefully give us a mushroom. But at this point, Mario's a bit too famished to be picky and choosy about the type of mushroom he gets, so the golden is just gonna have to do, mainly because I could not be bothered to play another round of this. But luckily, the nightmare of handheld Mario Party games is over, and it's time to move on to the next mushroom course, which is gonna be a little lighter on the calories, and that's Paper Mario. In Paper Mario, the mushroom is eaten more for its healthy properties instead of its growth hormones, but it's still a mushroom nonetheless. In all Paper Marios, most of our journey is gonna be about 80% cutscene, but in Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64, we lose our fight to Bowser, wake up in a forest, only to find a family of Goombas in help. We nearly die with the Grandpa Goomba after falling off of his balcony, find his trusty hammer, and make our way to the very first route, where we find a mushroom stuck against a sign. But since we are completely healthy, we have to get into a bit of a tussle with the local Goombas before we can use the mushroom to heal us up. Next is Paper Mario and the Thousand-Year Door, which thankfully has the shortest intro cutscene of all the Paper Marios. We arrive at a dock only to be ambushed by some goons, but luckily after getting scrapped up a bit, we can head straight to the shop, buy a mushroom, and eat it right up. I only ever really played the first 2 Paper Mario games, as the one for the Wii didn't really grab my attention as the first 2 did, so hopefully it's not too weird. After the strange scene in The Matrix and a handful of cutscenes, we find ourselves in a very reminiscent area. We hit the mystery block that we have so much experience doing, and eat the paper mushroom that falls out. On to Paper Mario Sticker Star, which starts off with one of the most frustrating opening sections of a game that I have ever experienced. Before being able to play the game at all, we have to start off in this town full of lost toads, and in order to progress into the next area, we just have to find all of them. How many are there? I have no clue. How many are left? There's no way to tell. And how does this help with the game or tell us what's going on? It doesn't at all. But either way, we have to scour the first 2 areas with a fine-tooth comb, look behind every last tree box and bush until we find every last toad. And once we can do that, the game can finally begin. But luckily for us, once we find all the toads, we head into the store, buy a mushroom, go into our first fight, and then we take some damage to eat the mushroom. The next Paper Mario game in the series is Paper Mario Color Splash, but sadly only has cards and no mushrooms for us to eat. So it's on to Origami King, which is another strange installment of the Paper Mario series. I'm not really sure what the overarching theme is of this game, but basically there are characters that are 3D and origami, and then there are 2D paper characters, and the 3D characters think that their kind is better than the 2D kind. So it seems like it's kind of a touchy topic, so we just want to eat our mushrooms and get out of here. We first have to free Bowser, who is being tortured by the 3D creatures, break out of jail with our new arms, and then head into the forest. After knocking over a tree, we find a block, receive our mushroom, and are so hungry that we can even eat it at full health. And that leaves us with the final course, but we can't possibly eat any more mushrooms all on our own, so that's why we're going to share them with Luigi. in the Mario and Luigi series. The Mario and Luigi series is one that I used to love. It's the only handheld exclusive series, and it's really a shame that it was never made for the home console. It builds off the style of Super Mario RPG that kind of set the standard for some modern JRPG titles, and it added a lot to the genre. Which reminds me, we never ate our mushroom from Super Mario RPG, so Luigi, you're gonna have to wait. Super Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo is kind of an outlier of the Mario games, but it's one that shouldn't be overlooked, and it's definitely one that we shouldn't skip out on eating a mushroom. The game starts off with us fighting Bowser, sort of. Winning, but also losing, and then we wake up in our house, or maybe Toad's house. I don't really know what's going on. Either way, Toad gives us a couple of tips, and then he teaches us how to heal in case we are hurt, gives us a mushroom to try out, and lets us eat it right there and then. Okay, now back to Mario and Luigi. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga is the first of the series, and for this, as well as most of the Mario and Luigi games, we watch a handful of cutscenes, learn from Toadsworth how to fight enemies, take a bit of damage, and eat a mushroom to heal ourselves up. Mario and Luigi Partners in Time is the next installment in the Mario and Luigi series, but instead of playing as just Mario and Luigi, we also get to play as Baby Mario and Baby Luigi, which is a lot of mouths to feed. But similar to before, we go through some cutscenes, learn how the fighting works, and heal ourselves in the very first battle. But next is Mario and Luigi's Bowser's Inside Story, which is an extremely different ballgame, and that mushroom won't be so easy. We first start off and are introduced to the round Toad, which may or may not be the culprit who's been eating all the mushrooms, but also isn't really explained and is just a very, very, very fat Toad. Also, there are dozens of them just rolling around, but either way, some cutscenes happen and we end up playing as Bowser, who could also go for a mushroom or two, so we make our way to the mushroom vendor and receive a free one to eat. But it actually turns out to be rotten, so instead of eating a mushroom, Bowser just eats the entire town instead. So now we're back to Mario and Luigi. We can make our way through Bowser's stomach and eat ourselves a mushroom that we found along the way. So technically, we ate 2 mushrooms. Bowser ate the mushroom, ate us, and then we ate the mushroom. So I'll count that as 2. Next up is Mario and Luigi Dream Team, which, similar to the Paper Mario series, just decided that if it ain't broke, change it to something that is extremely weird and just hope it goes as well. I can't really speak for Dream Team as it's one of the Mario and Luigi games I haven't played before, but the Roblox-looking characters running around doesn't really give me too much hope. But our mission is the mushroom, and regardless of the game, the mushrooms are all the same. So we make our way through the town, play a game of trivia, and get a quick tutorial on how to eat a mushroom. And last but not least, we have Mario and Luigi Paper Jam, which is a combo of Mario and Luigi as well as Paper Mario. And that cross of games is very noticeable at the very beginning, when before any of the game actually starts, we have to find a bunch of Toads hiding around the castle, which still doesn't make any sense to me. Why are Toads always getting lost, and why is it always our job to find them? But after finding all the Toads, we head out of the castle and face off against some Goombas, where we take a bit of damage and eat our final mushroom. And that's how fast you can eat a mushroom in every Mario game. We ate a total of 41 mushrooms, plus some additional snacks along the way. But hopefully now Mario will be all plumped up for the big film. Also, there are a handful of games that do have mushrooms that we didn't eat today, some Mario games and some that don't include Mario, but do include mushrooms. But I think 41 is more than enough to stuff our plumber full. Here's the time for eating a mushroom in every Mario game. They're not the fastest they can be, but eating is a marathon, not a race. Thanks for watching.